I hope you all had a great Christmas. It's back to the grind, back to some hair cutting. Today I'm in the mood to do a short haircut. Now this is already short, however, I want to take it even one step further and go even shorter than this. So it's technically gonna be a Pixie haircut. What I like to do when I'm first cutting hair is I use my 25 spray. If you are new to my channel, if you are looking for a hair product that is life-changing for your hair, trust me, I'm a 30-plus year hair professional. This is my brand, these are my products. I've seen this within one use of it transforming someone's hair. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, especially if you're a female and you have like longish, dry, somewhat stringy hair, you want your hair to look thicker and healthier, this is it. And the reason I'm spraying this on right now on damp hair is because one, it's also incredible for getting rid of knots and tangles. So really, really amazing. And now I'm using my anti-static vent brush, my favorite vent brush of all time, which if you don't know, this is officially my brush. I got the mold to have this made. A lot of work went into this, but it's officially my own brush. So I'm using this to comb through to get all the knots out. And that's my approach I like to take when cutting hair. So the next thing is creating the shape. Now I'm kind of doing this on a whim and I'm just trying to figure out, what's the best haircut for this? And I know some people get freaked out by the mannequin's eyes, like, oh my God. Well, this is a fairly kind of rounded oval shape. You can see it's wider in through here and goes in more narrow in through here. So I want to create something that's going to be a little bit closer to the head. If I create something that's going to be really more outwards here, it's going to expand this area. So if you're somebody who really just wants to, condense the corners, then keeping it shorter in through here is definitely going to make it lay a bit closer, okay, to the head. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to end up cutting this quite a bit shorter, and I want to do something kind of funky where I leave some length in through here, right? So I want to make this a little more edgy. All right, so let's start with the back. And there may be times in this where I'm going to be, talking a bit more than others. Some parts I'm going to be a bit more quiet just because of, I want to really, really just kind of embrace this haircut and have some fun with it. So here we go. I'm starting in the back here, and usually when I start my haircuts, I try to just vision and picture where or how short do I want this. So I do want this fairly short, but I do want to have some softness to it as well. And by leaving some extra length in the back, that's going to allow you to keep some softness, okay? Now, when I say softness, I mean a little more piecey and wispy and stuff like that, all right? And that's all done with the layering and texturizing. Okay, so let's work in from that now. Let's see here. Okay, so that is done. So now I created the back, and what I want to do is start with the top length. And I did mention I'm going to go a little bit shorter than what it is currently right now. And what I'm doing is I'm brushing the hair out of the way to create, kind of like a division point and a separation point that shows me, all right, this is the front and this is the back. And I just do that by creating a line right down the middle, right? The top of the head. And this is probably the flattest part of the head is where I can lay a comb down like this and it lays flat. So that's pretty much where I like to start this. So now let's take my first kind of layered section right in through here, and we're going to cut this. All right, now I'm going to cut this straight up. I'm going to probably cut this about, I'm taking all that length off right there on top. Okay, so it's relatively short, not super, super short, but enough to kind of have something to work with throughout the top. Okay, now this hair does want to go forward. And what happens is if you go against it, you could see the hair is kind of springing forward. That means that if I were to try to style this going back, it's going to just stick straight up. So this style especially going here, has to go forward. And this is a key takeaway when cutting hair, is that if the hair you're going against the way the hair grows, it's going to stick straight out from the head, okay? So now I'm gonna use that as my guide, and I'm literally just gonna go across the entire back of the head, cutting it vertically, yep, like so. And I'm just following the head shape, and if you notice, I'm also not taking 19 different sections. I'm not using any clips. I'm just kind of just going with where the hair's falling and what's happening. But what I am doing is I am trying to stay structured to keep within a certain area, right in through here. And I'm working my way downwards. And if you're somebody who, a client watching this and you're looking to get a, Pixie haircut or somewhat of a shorter haircut, then first of all, you need to find someone who is good with short hair. And that doesn't always necessarily mean, it's got to be, clippers, because I'm doing this all by hand, right? I'm not going to use clippers like once throughout this entire haircut. And that's, kind of essential. I think by using clippers on shorter hair, it works fine and it gets the job done quick. However, I have noticed that in the past, there was actually a funny story. There was one time where I actually cut someone's hair. It was a male client of mine. And something had happened with my clippers to where they just weren't working, right? This is years ago. And I said, look, I'm sorry, man, but my clippers aren't working. Like, I got to do this by hand. And it was like pretty short. Actually, I think a little shorter than this as far as the length goes. And he goes, I don't care, as long as it comes out okay. And I was like, yeah, it's gonna take a little bit longer because doing this all by hand, it's a lot of work. So, all right, no problem, let's do this by hand. So we agreed to do it, and I'm doing my scissor over comb, and it came out good, right? It was pretty accurate. It was, we got it fairly short. The haircut was a good haircut. When he came back to me, I don't know, maybe like 4 weeks later, 3-4 weeks later, I forget, he said, Steven, that was the best haircut you've ever given me. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, the way my hair grew out by you using just scissors and not clippers, he goes, it was the most incredible grow out I've ever seen. And it did. It looked pretty good. And that's because of the fact that I guess when you're doing or getting your haircut and it's literally all shears, I don't know, for some reason it just grew out so amazing. So if you go to somebody, right, and I notice that more barbers don't do this because most barbers, they're using clippers, right away. So they're skilled at clippers. But if you go to a barber or a hair professional who can do really, really good short hair with just scissors, I'm telling you, you're going to notice a huge difference as far as how it grows out. And that's why I like to do a bit of a hybrid to where, I may use clippers, but if I don't, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I do a lot of scissor over comb as it dries. And that is going to, blend the hair a bit better. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually switching my hand position, and now I'm cutting palm to palm. And palm to palm, that's a phrase that us professionals use where you could see the palms are facing together like this, almost like you're clapping hands. And that just allows you to get a bit closer while you're cutting, closer to the head, right? And I'm also not breaking my back and putting myself in an awkward position. So that's another thing is if you're getting your haircut and you're seeing somebody, their body, pay close attention to their body position, right? Next time you go in to get your haircut, I want you to pay close attention to how the stylist or the barber is standing when they're cutting your hair. If you noticed, not once while I've been doing this, did I put myself in a weird, awkward position. Usually when people go to the opposite side of the head, They're throwing, like if I were to layer this side, they're literally throwing themselves, oh, and already my back is killing me. I have a bad back to begin with as it is. But pay close attention. Now, the opposite way is just having them turn you and you stay here. I could literally do this entire haircut by just standing in the same position. So pay close attention, and that's going to tell you something, right? Not to say you're not getting good haircuts, but I think the more skilled professionals understand body position, and they understand like, oh yeah, if I, that's why cutting palm to palm, when you get lower, it allows you to stand like this. So just pay close attention and see, because that's going to really help you understand the skill level of the stylist. And look, they can still do good haircuts. It's not like they're going to do an awful haircut, but to me, in all honesty, it does affect sometimes the end result and the skill level of when you get your haircut. Because I think when you see people doing techniques the right way, that just goes to show you how skilled they are, to be honest with you. So right now what I'm doing is I'm cutting the hair vertically, like I mentioned, and now I'm cutting it horizontally, and I'm just kind of lifting this up in the back. And if you're somebody who, when you get your haircut, the back or the bottom is always really, really heavy, well, this is a great way to add just a little bit of softness, is by just pulling the hair out horizontally and just elevating it upwards, or having it elevated upwards this way. And because you're lifting and you're cutting, and then when everything gets cut or pulled down, it just ends up being a little bit softer. Okay, so I'm liking the way, I apologize if you hear any background noise, because down where my studio is, it's in the middle of a busy downtown area, so good thing it's early, but you may hear some weird beeps or trucks and things like that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm really just focusing on how this is all laying, right? How it's all working. And I'm, pulling this out from the head, and now I'm checking for balance, right? I'm checking for balance, and I think this side in through here is just slightly longer. And I'm trying to be even Steven today, okay? I know we're coming fresh off a holiday, but I want to be even Steven for all of you. Okay, there we go. Nice. So let's take a look at the back. You can see the silhouette here, what I've created. And, I have a nice workable shape, right? And now I'm just going to be checking for pieces. Now there's a piece right there that I somehow missed. Let's see here. Okay, there it is right there. And this is where you go back in. Now also keep in mind these mannequin heads, right? These mannequin heads, the hair, even though it's human hair, it's stitched into the head in a certain way that sometimes the hair gets a bit matted. And sometimes when the hair gets matted, you miss pieces, and that's kind of what happened here. That doesn't happen so much on humans, but right here is where I'm going back in to just double check to make sure. There we go. And sometimes you gotta really, and this can happen to your hair if all of a sudden you're getting your hair cut and you go back in and you notice pieces are a little bit longer in some areas or whatever, then simply just, you may have to call them back and say, hey, look, my hair, I don't like how it's laying. So, all right, so now we're working going this way towards the top. And this is where I have to make a connection of cutting the back into the top and making that right there. There it is. So I'm connecting this into this. Now remember I said that the hair grows this way. So everything has to kind of come forward. And you can see there's that calic right here. And the best way to fix that calic is by cutting the hair the way it grows. So we're cutting this a bit forward just to kind of make that initial connection. Okay, here's this right there. And now here's the part where I talked about where I'm standing in the same position and I'm just going to connect that piece right there. There it is. All right. So I like to work top corners and sides. Top corners and sides when I'm cutting. So now that I made this blend going from here to here, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to cut the hair horizontally, straight across. And this is going to really kind of be a lot more of a easy flow for me as I'm cutting this, because it's just really following a pattern. And it just depends on how short or how long you want to go towards the front, the very, very front, right? Because with these types of haircuts, with Pixie haircuts, you know, you can leave some length, you can go shorter, you can go super edgy, and I'm feeling a bit more creative today and a bit more edgy. So when I get to the front, I may want to just go really, really short in through here, just have a couple of pieces coming down. But let's see how this is going to work out. And that does matter. And if you are getting your hair cut and you don't convey that to the stylist relatively quickly, you need to tell them, or they need to tell you, like, hey, I want to make this really short and wispy in the front. Does that sound cool? Like, what kind of look are we going for? Because what happens is if they leave it too long, that could affect the haircut. So knowing that I do want to go a bit shorter in through here, I am going to make sure that I'm cutting these layers to match up with that. Because I don't want to have the layers too heavy on top and then really short here. So, all right, the top is done for now, and now let's work into the corners. And the corners is where the roundness of the head is. Now I do want to take this a bit shorter, like I mentioned. However, I do want to leave kind of like some length throughout the sides here. So I'm going to push that forward right there. And I'm just going to over direct this right here. Okay, perfect. All right, now let's go into the bottom here. And I am going to comb that upwards. And I am going to cut that off right there. And as we get to right here, this piece, that's where I want to leave it a bit wispy. This piece right in through here. So I'm going to over direct that up. See what happens when I over direct? It allows the hair to just be longer throughout the bottom. So you can see all of that hair now just kind of falls down like this. Okay? Beautiful. So now another thing that you could do, and I do sometimes, is I'll elevate this straight up. I'm going to cut it. And as I cut that, then you can see all of this hair then becomes really, really wispy. Okay, so let's do that. Let's leave that piece right there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut kind of around the ear area right there. Okay, cool. Now let's go in here. So I also, as I'm doing this, I'm just kind of like trying to feel out this piece, right? I'm like, some of my thought process is like, oh, I like the piece, and then, you know, and that really is up to you as the client and the stylist if you want to leave that piece right there, okay? So it really comes down to like, do you like that piece or do you not want that piece? So if you get rid of that piece, it's going to be like really, really short. But this little piece can like add something. So we'll see as I dry, you know, when I dry this, if we want to leave it or not. Let me know in the comments below if you're like a piece person. Do you like to have like softness and little extra pieces in there? That would be cool to know. All right. Now let's work on this side. Now notice, here it is. I'm standing in the same position. I haven't moved. So, you know, pay close attention. If you see, like I mentioned, if you see your hair professional and they're putting themselves in awkward positions where they're, again, throwing themselves way over, you should say to them, hey, aren't you hurting yourself? And a lot of times I think that comes down to training, because I've seen people, like other like hairstylists, when they're training assistants and stuff like that, they actually teach them that. And I'm like, you do realize that's like going to destroy their back, especially if you're going to be doing this for like 30 something years. That's like the worst thing you want to do. But anyway, okay, here we go. Once again, bring this up. There's that piece I want to cut, all that weight. And there it is. So now let's hold this horizontally. And just a little bit right there. Okay, let's bring this down. And there it is. You can see we created a bit of a wispier piece. Okay, perfect. So let's go here. I'm going to comb this a bit forward. And work my way down. That, okay. So let's check on these angles here. Okay. So for the most part, let me just check the balance on these pieces. These pieces have a mind of their own, but I'm just checking to see how everything is laying. And it's looking pretty good. I want to go just a hair shorter right here. Yep, there it is. So after a while, and this is another thing to pay close attention to, is how precise, how accurate is the hair professional. All right, like what are they doing? What are they putting into the haircut? Are they going back in to cross-check? Are they triple checking, double checking, all of that stuff? It's really, 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 really important. Okay, now the front. The front looks kind of cool as it is, but let's take this one step further and cut this a bit shorter right into here. Okay, there's all that weight right there. Let's see through here. And now I'm starting to get into like my freehand mode of where I'm starting to see how everything is falling. Okay, so let's do this. Let's dry the hair. And what I'm going to do is I am going to use Tidal Wave. I'm going to, my #1 best-selling sea salt spray, shop.TheSalonGuy.com. And I'm going to spray 1, 2, 3, 4 spritzes. Unlike other products made by non-professionals where you need 19 sprays and spritzes, you only need a few of this. And this is specifically formulated to how I would style hair as a professional. The more you use this, the more of that sea salt texture you're going to get. That's why I don't overspray it, because you don't need your hair to feel like that. A few spritzes, that's all you need. And then I'm going to use my blow dryer, which I got right here. This is my ionic blow dryer. It does come with the magnetic attachment right here. I did invest in upgrading this dryer to make sure it does have the ionic technology. And also it's available at my store. So here we go. Full speed, full heat, let's go. All right, I think this looks pretty awesome. So now it's a matter of, let's just start the tweaking process. All right, so first thing I'm seeing is this is a little bit heavy right in through here. A little bit heavy, which we can manage with the thinning shears. Okay. And then we have this. Let me know before I do any tweaking or cutting, do you think the fringe is a good length, or should I trim them down a bit? I actually think they came out pretty amazing. But what I do want to do is just soften them up a little bit. I'm going to use my feather razor for this. This is a professional hair tool. If you do want to get this for those late nights when you've had too much wine and you want to experiment and cut your fringe and your bangs, well, you can get this from my affiliate link through Amazon down below. I get all this stuff on Amazon if it's something I don't have in my arsenal of tools. So I'm pulling this down, and I want to make sure that all of this is coming straight down like this. This way I can just go in and make this a bit softer. There we go. Just allowing to have a little bit of a softer textured feel. And I had that work into the sides. Now, I did mention that this was a little bit heavy right in through here. So let's take the thinning shears and let's do the same thing. We're bring it up and chomp. Let's bring this up and chomp right here. So I'm just softening that area up a little bit. Okay, definitely better. Let's see that area right there. And I'm just gonna do this freehand without any comb. So I'm twisting and I'm chomping. And this is a technique that I've been using for many, many years, where it really just does remove a lot of weight. Now I'm gonna be a little more aggressive with this, and this is gonna allow me to just, create a bit more separation and a bit more texture. And only do this or have this done to your hair, and this could be like the missing link to a lot of your haircuts. If you feel that your hair is really, really heavy and you just wish that there was some sort of technique, but you have to make sure that your hair is almost too thick, right? If your hair is really, really thin, I wouldn't go have the stylist do this, like go to town on this, because it could, make your hair a little bit too thin. However, this is a really, really great technique for anyone who has some hair to spare, meaning that you always feel like your hair is just so heavy and so thick, I think that would be a really, really something awesome you can do. All right, and here we go. So I'm really liking this. Look at that awesome shape, that awesome texture. Are you someone who likes these side pieces? Because sometimes these side pieces, it still kind of gives you a feeling of like, oh, I've got some hair. You can even have some fun and tuck these little pieces behind the ear, right? Or, just wear them kind of down like this, and you just feel like you're like, oh yeah, I've got some like fun little pieces there, So let me know if you're someone who would keep these or not. All right, now we're gonna go into the styling part of this whole thing, right? The styling part of this is where I'm going to utilize, now I mentioned before that Tidal Wave, my sea salt spray, is my #1 selling product. And guess what I just did? I created and I think it's the first ever, sea salt hair powder called Beach House. Right? I want to make it really, really fun because, some people have a beach house, and I want to make this kind of a fun, edgy name. And this is made with the same technology, with the best quality sea salt in this hair powder, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the hair is fully dry for this. and you're gonna dab it on, and don't be shy, right? You're gonna start to dab it on, and as you're dabbing the powder on, what I want you to do is work it through your hair while it's being dabbed on. And that's going to give the hair some added texture and some added shape. Okay? And in the front here, you can dab a little bit throughout the front. You can even apply it to your hands if you want, like that, right? And you can work it through your hand and then get in there and add some texture. And it's giving it instant lift. So now this is designed to add volume, especially if you have like finer hair. This is really gonna help give you some texture. It's gonna help give you a little bit of pliability. And this is really just designed to like give your hair a little bit of something extra, right? A little bit of something extra. If your hair is like just super, super soft, this is gonna allow you to kind of go in and reshape it and mold it to however you want. If you want to be sticking straight up like this, then there you go. You know, if you want like a faux hawk of some sorts, but I think for this, I want to keep just a little bit of texture and pieciness throughout the front here. Nothing super, super crazy, but something like that. And I'm liking how this is kind of working, little soft. Now, I want this to be a little bit on the softer side, right? And you see how because of the way I cut this, I can literally just take my fingers and lift and look at the shape. It's creating the shape, a bit more of a somewhat square shape, because remember before I said this is very rounded in through here. So I wanted to create something that has a bit more of, even though I cut it out from the head, that's why I like doing haircuts that are a bit more out from the head, right? So it's more pulled straight out. That gives me the flexibility to create some awesome texture, right? And then I can mold it and shape it however I want. And again, you don't have to have your hair like, right? You can mat it down a bit more if you want, but this is just to showcase the type of haircut and the freedom and flexibility you're able to do with this. So let's do a nice spin around. Check that out. I think this came out amazing. Very soft. Yeah, I think it looks pretty awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to do one thing for you all, which is I'm going to use my carbon comb and I'm going to comb all of this straight down, okay? Because I want you all to see what this haircut looks like with it all combed straight down, right? And this is really going to showcase how amazing this haircut came out by because sometimes when you start to stick the hair up and push it around, it looks like sometimes it's not blended or cut properly. But I want to showcase this because these are, short haircuts like this are not the easiest. By combing all this hair straight down, you're able to see everything, and you can see how perfectly balanced and soft that is, right? You can see how the layers, right, is all even, Steven. Everything is very, very seamless. Okay, let's get even closer there. You can see all that. Where's that coming from? Is that on? That's right here. Okay, comb this down, and this is I'm just doing this just to kind of check and showcase. And if you're somebody who does want to wear their hair very much like this, a bit more flat to the head, then there you go, you can do it. And then let's just say you want to like add a little bit of softness right in through the front here, and maybe just a little bit of texture throughout the sides here to give it a little bit of shape, then there you go. You can see within seconds. That's the thing about getting a good haircut, is you're able to go in and tweak, especially on women's shorter hair. This is a Pixie haircut. You have to have the confidence to wear this, the face shape, you have to have it cut the right way. And, I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of haircuts throughout my career. And I think it's something that really could be awesome, right? If you have the right haircut. If you want to purchase any of my products, and I have some really cool stuff like, once again, my sea salt hair powder. This is a unisex product. I believe I'm the first, that's what I want to do, is be the first to create a sea salt hair powder. So this is revolutionary right here. This is available. You can shop right here on YouTube on my store. You could also get Tidal Wave, my sea salt spray. You can get all the tools that I mentioned in this video. If you want to go to shop.thesalonguy.com, you can use code YouTube20 for 20% off. Also, I have new haircutting ebooks. They're only $10. I have one for men's hair and one for women's hair. And it's not a guide to teach you how to cut hair, but it's a guide to help you understand the different haircut shapes. And this could help you as a client get better haircuts. And if you're a professional watching this, you'd be surprised how many professionals do not understand haircutting, right? The fundamentals of haircutting, the different types of shapes, and you've heard me mention, square, rounded, there's triangular, layering. A hair professional needs to know all these things, and I've simplified this for you. This could be life and career changing for only $10. So again, available right here in the store, or you can go to my website, shop.thesalonguy.com. Let me know if you enjoyed this haircut. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.